They told you to grind, to hustle harder, to never stop. That sleep is for the weak and rest is for losers. But what if I told you that's the lie keeping you average? Real strength isn't built through burnout. It's built in the silence, in the stillness, in the moments no one sees. When you pause, recover, and come back sharper than ever. Society sold you exhaustion, but the truth is, rest isn't retreat. It's your secret weapon. They'll tell you you're lazy, they'll say you're unmotivated, undisciplined, or weak, that you don't want it bad enough, and after hearing it long enough, you might even start to believe them. But what if the truth is far simpler and far more dangerous? What if you're not lazy at all? What if you're just burned out? There's a difference between not wanting to do something and having nothing left inside of you to give. You're not stuck because you're incapable. You're stuck because every time you took a step forward, you didn't rest, you didn't breathe, you didn't recover. You kept pushing, grinding, sacrificing. You wore the hustle like a badge of honor, never pausing long enough to see that your tank was running on fumes. Society glorifies the grind. It sells the idea that if you're not constantly producing, constantly chasing, constantly sacrificing, then you must not want success badly enough. But here's the hard truth. If you run an engine non-stop without oil, without maintenance, without care, it doesn't matter how powerful that engine is. It will break down, and when you break down, they don't ask what went wrong. They just blame you for not going further. You are not lazy. Laziness is choosing comfort when you have fuel. Burnout is having no fuel at all. You're tired, not because you've done too little, but because you've carried too much for too long without putting it down. And when your mind and body scream at you to stop, you don't listen, you shame yourself instead, you double down, you drink more caffeine, set another alarm, scream affirmations into a mirror hoping to shock yourself back into motion. But it doesn't work because you're not addressing the root. You cannot discipline yourself out of burnout. You cannot shame yourself into power. That's like yelling at a broken leg to start walking again. What you need is compassion, recovery, stillness. That doesn't mean giving up. That doesn't mean quitting. It means stepping back so you can come back stronger. But nobody teaches us that because stillness doesn't sell, hustle does. And so we confuse noise for progress. We confuse exhaustion for excellence. There's a reason high performers disappear sometimes. There's a reason champions take time to reset. There's a reason the strongest minds also know when to pull back, not to hide, but to rebuild. Because a rested mind is a dangerous weapon, a restored soul is an unstoppable force, and the people who are truly committed to their mission, they know that burnout doesn't just steal your energy, it clouds your thinking, it kills creativity, it distorts reality. You start questioning your worth, your purpose, your identity, not because you've lost it, but because you've lost connection to it. You're not broken, you're depleted. And the worst part is, you've been so strong for so long, you've forgotten what full even feels like. You've learned how to function while half empty, how to show up while silently drowning, but deep down you know this can't go on. You know something has to change, and the change doesn't begin with doing more. It begins with doing less intentionally, unapologetically. Let that sink in. Rest is not weakness. It is strategy. It is wisdom. It is necessary. And the sooner you learn to honor your limits, the sooner you'll realize that your power doesn't come from how hard you push. It comes from how smart you recover. That clarity, that fire, that hunger you think you've lost, it's still there. It's waiting underneath the noise, underneath the exhaustion, underneath the performance, and it will rise again, not when you shame yourself into movement, but when you give yourself permission to heal. So if you feel stuck right now, drained, numb, like nothing excites you anymore, that's not failure, that's a signal. Your body, your mind, your spirit, they're all whispering the same thing. Slow down, not forever, just long enough to reset, long enough to breathe, long enough to remember why you started in the first place. Because once you do, once you feel that spark again, no one will have to tell you to move. You'll run, not out of desperation, but from overflow, not because you're chasing something, but because you've become someone. And when that moment comes, when your strength is restored, your clarity is sharp, and your soul is on fire, there won't be a single doubt left about who you are or what you're capable of, because you were never lazy. You were just running on empty. They taught you to keep going, no matter what. They made you believe that slowing down meant falling behind, and somewhere along the way, you started to equate rest with weakness. You started to believe that the only way to earn respect, to stay competitive, to become unstoppable, was to run until your legs gave out and your mind went numb. But that belief, it's a lie. One of the most dangerous lies you've been fed. Rest isn't surrender. It's not quitting. It's not giving up the fight. It's strategy. It's preparation. It's sharpening the sword before you step back into battle. Think about it. A warrior who never stops swinging eventually dulls his blade. He grows careless. He loses his edge. And when that happens, it doesn't matter how brave he is. He becomes vulnerable, not powerful. You see, real strength isn't about endless motion. It's about knowing when to pause, knowing when to recover so you can rise again, not half-charged, not depleted, but at full capacity. That's not weakness, that's mastery. And the most elite minds, the most dangerous competitors, the most powerful leaders, they all understand this. They rest deliberately, with purpose, not because they need an escape, but because they know energy is currency. And if you spend it recklessly, you'll go broke, mentally, physically, emotionally. The problem is, you're conditioned to feel guilty when you stop. You sit still for a moment, and suddenly the world tells you you're lazy. The clock ticks louder, the pressure mounts, the doubt creeps in, so you keep moving, you keep doing, but deep down you're not moving forward. You're spinning in circles, drained, distracted, and disconnected from your deeper mission. Let me make something clear. Rest doesn't mean sitting on the sidelines forever. It doesn't mean hiding from responsibility or losing momentum. It means understanding the rhythm of your own power. Like the ocean, you need tides, ebbs and flows, that rise and retreat. That's not inconsistency. That's nature. That's balance. And when you embrace it, something changes inside you. You stop chasing speed and you start chasing sustainability. You stop worshiping hustle and you start honoring impact. Because it's not about how fast you move, it's about how far you can go without breaking. The world is full of people who burned bright and burned out, people who confused urgency with effectiveness. They had talent, they had passion, but they never learned to refuel, and in the end, that's what cost them everything. But you're going to do it differently. You're going to reclaim rest as a tool, not a trap. You're going to step back, not to lose your place, but to lock in your next move with precision. You're going to pause, not to drift, but to prime your next breakthrough. Because when you rest with purpose, you don't lose your edge, you refine it. Some of your greatest clarity will come in the quiet. Some of your boldest ideas will come when you step away from the noise. Rest is where vision is born. It's where alignment happens. And if you can find the courage to trust that stillness is part of the process, not the enemy of it, you'll separate yourself from 99% of the world. You'll become dangerous not just because you can work hard, but because you know when to reset. You'll become unstoppable not because you ignore fatigue, but because you respect it enough to rise above it. You'll go further than most not because you hustle more, but because you understand that high performance is a cycle, not a sprint. And when others are burning out, questioning their path, wondering why they can't sustain the pace, they'll look at you and wonder how you're still rising, still sharp, still relentless. But you'll know that every moment of rest was an investment. Every pause was power loading in. Background, every reset was a step closer to mastery. So let the world misjudge you for slowing down. Let them think you're taking it easy. Let them believe you've lost your hunger, and then show them what happens when someone rests with intention and comes back with force. Not because you needed to escape, but because you chose to return stronger. You've been trained to believe that the louder your life is, the more important you must be, that the more noise around you, meetings, notifications, conversations, constant motion, the more progress you're making. But here's the truth that most people never stop long enough to realize. Clarity does not come from chaos. It doesn't come from stress, from busyness, or from constantly reacting to the world. Clarity, the kind that cuts through confusion, that anchors your decisions, that unlocks power, comes from stillness. Think about the mind like water. When it's agitated, stirred up, full of turbulence, it can't reflect anything clearly. You can't see the bottom, you can't see your direction, you can't even see your own reflection. But the moment the water becomes still, everything becomes visible. In that calmness, there is truth. In that silence, there is clarity. But we live in a culture that fears silence. We fill every spare moment with noise. If there's even a few seconds of downtime, we reach for distraction. Music, scrolling, texting, filling our heads with other people's lives, opinions, problems. And then we wonder why we feel lost, disconnected, uncertain about our next move. It's not because we lack ambition. It's because we've drowned out the signal with static. You want mental clarity. You want to stop second guessing yourself, stop feeling like you're always behind, like you're always reacting instead of leading. Then you need to build stillness into your life like a ritual. Not once in a while, not when you crash, not when you've exhausted every other option, but daily, consistently. Because clarity isn't a gift, it's a discipline. It's the discipline to pause before you speak, to breathe before you act, to sit in silence long enough to hear your own thoughts, not the world's noise, not the fear screaming in your mind, but the real voice that only comes forward when everything else gets quiet. That voice is your compass. But it doesn't scream, it whispers, and if your life is too loud, you'll miss it. Stillness doesn't mean inactivity. It's not about doing nothing. It's about creating space for everything important to rise to the surface. It's where you sort through the noise and recognize what actually matters. It's where you untangle your thinking, not with effort, but with awareness. It's where stress stops controlling your decisions, and you start choosing from a place of wisdom. And let's be honest, most people are making decisions from a state of panic. They're overwhelmed, overstimulated, running on fumes. They confuse movement for momentum. But momentum without direction is chaos. They're burning energy, not building anything. That's the difference between those who just stay busy and those who actually build lives that mean something. You want to make better decisions. You want to lead with conviction, not fear. You want to see your vision clearly when everyone else is confused. Then you need to protect your stillness like it's sacred, and it is. It's where your true power lies, not in how loud you can be, not in how fast you can move, but in how calm you can stay when everything else is shaking. That calmness, it's not born in the moment of pressure. It's trained in the moments you create before the storm hits. It's trained when you choose to sit in the quiet and face your thoughts instead of numbing them. It's trained when you build a routine that honors your mind, your peace, your clarity, not as a luxury, but as a necessity. People chase clarity like it's something outside themselves. They think the next book, the next podcast, the next guru will finally show them what to do. But the truth is, no one else has your answers. No one else knows the path you're built to walk. That's between you and the silence, between you and the stillness you've been avoiding. So if you feel lost, don't speed up. Slow down. If you feel stuck, don't do more. Step back. If your thoughts are foggy, don't fight harder. Breathe deeper. Your mind is not broken, it's just buried under stress, under pressure, under noise. But it's still there, powerful, focused, clear. You just have to stop long enough to access it, because in the stillness you'll remember who you are, you'll remember why you started, and you'll see exactly where you need to go next. Everyone's racing, racing to be seen, racing to be heard, racing to post first, react first, launch first. The world keeps shouting, faster, move faster. If you're not ahead, you're behind. And people are listening. They scramble, rush, stumble forward, trying to win a race they don't even understand. But let me tell you something few ever realize. Real winners don't move on the world's timeline. They move on their own. They don't chase speed, they master timing. There's a massive difference between acting quickly and acting wisely. The world is full of people who are busy but going nowhere fast. They move out of fear, not clarity. They act because everyone else is acting. But just because something is urgent doesn't make it important. And just because you can move doesn't mean you should. Discipline isn't just knowing when to move, it's knowing when to wait. Now, I'm not talking about procrastination. Waiting doesn't mean fear. It doesn't mean avoidance. It means preparation, precision, patience. The strongest minds don't confuse movement with mastery. They understand the power of observing before striking. They're like archers, drawing the bow back slowly, holding it steady, waiting for the exact right moment to release. And when they release, it lands. You don't win by moving fast. You win by moving right. The noise will tell you otherwise. Society rewards the flash. The hustle culture glorifies the grind. If you're not tired, if you're not sprinting, you must not want it bad enough. Right, wrong. The people who last, the ones who build legacies, not just momentum, are the ones who understand that timing is everything. They know that the right move at the wrong time is still the wrong move. And here's the key. Mastering timing starts with mastering yourself. If your decisions are fueled by insecurity, by comparison, by panic, you will always be early or late. You'll rush into things you weren't ready for. You'll stay in situations longer than you should. You'll speak when silence was needed and stay silent when courage was required. But when your mind is steady, when your inner world isn't in chaos, you begin to feel the rhythm of life. You stop reacting and start responding. People think boldness means charging forward, but boldness also looks like stillness. Boldness sometimes looks like waiting until the noise passes, until the emotion settles, and then stepping in with calm, calculated force. That's real power, not running with the crowd, but knowing exactly when to move while everyone else is just moving for the sake of moving. Timing is a form of intelligence, emotional intelligence, strategic intelligence, spiritual intelligence. It means you're aware enough to sense when the window is opening. It means you trust yourself enough to wait for it and brave enough to walk through it when the time comes. That takes more strength than most people ever develop. You've probably experienced both sides of it, rushing something before you were ready and having it fall apart, or hesitating too long and watching the moment slip away. And if you're paying attention, those moments teach you. They teach you that time isn't your enemy, poor timing is, but good timing is a weapon, a tool, a secret advantage. The world will never stop pushing you to move faster. You'll always be told you're behind, that you're missing out, that you should have started yesterday. Let them talk, let them run, let them burn themselves out sprinting in the wrong direction. Your job isn't to be first, it's to be aligned with your vision, aligned with your principles, aligned with the moment that's meant for you. When you're aligned, you don't need to chase, you attract. You draw in what's meant for you because you're ready for it. And when it comes, when the moment hits, when the path opens, you don't hesitate. You don't question. You don't look around for approval. You step forward with all the force and clarity you've built in the waiting. And because you waited, because you prepared, because you respected the process instead of rushing it, you win. Quietly, powerfully, completely. So don't let speed distract you. Master the moment instead, because real power is never rushed.